Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. But let's move on now to the Orlando Magic and my favorite team, the Orlando Magic.
Your absolute favorite.
The 2017 NBA draft slowly approaching. We've been kind of moonlighting teams. We've talked about the Kings, talked about the Suns. We're talking about the Magic now. My two favorite teams.
How many starters do the Magic have?
They have 10, and one of them is Terrence Ross. Because I had Terrence Jones on the mind and said Terrence Jones in the last podcast, so I apologize to that. But, again, 10 starters. We talked about this early in the season. I remember Magic fans talking about, Nikola Vucevic can get us for Draymond Green. That's how good our players are. Right now, you are one of the worst teams in the NBA. Right now, we told you that you had no offense, and look at your offensive rating. You were one of the teams bottom of the NBA in points per game. You look at the defense, and of course your team defensively is decent because you had Serge Ibaka, you had a lot of defensive players. You played Aaron Gordon at the small forward, but that didn't work because he's not a small forward. He's a power forward, and I didn't understand why you guys thought that would work. And it finally took you, half the season, more than half the season, to figure that out. So 10 starters right now. That's getting pretty much Rob Hennigan fired. And they also tweeted out, they let Carlos Prunes, a recent signee, tweet out a picture. I'm sorry, his agent, Carlos Prunes, signed out a picture of his client, Patricio Garino. I'm doing my best on those names, signing a contract with the Magic. But in the background, they had all of their targets for the offseason, especially one that said Saric for AG, so Dario Saric for Aaron Gordon was a possible trade. So Rob Hennigan, first off, doesn't know how to keep his trades a secret, and second of all, he gets 10 starters and it's a good team. Frank Vogel can do this, right? So the Orlando Magic, complete shit show. Their fans, at least from what we have experienced, think that Nikola Vucevic can bring in Draymond Green, which
and also
is
think
absurd.
You're a Magic fan.
Yes, they also think I'm a Magic fan. So the Magic desperately need a superstar, and that's what this is called, because right now there isn't a superstar. They have 10 starters. Most of those starters aren't even starters on good NBA teams. They're pretty much backups and throwaways from old teams. So right now, the Orlando Magic, they desperately need a superstar. We're looking at Chad Ford's recent mock draft, 4.0. They have Malik Monk mocked to the Orlando Magic. Is that enough? Is Malik Monk going to be the next superstar in your eyes, Dave? Because we talked about it before, the inconsistency of him shooting, and De'Aaron Fox kind of outshined him late down the season. So do you think that Malik Monk can be the next superstar for the Orlando Magic?
He certainly has the personality to be a superstar, but I don't know if the consistency will be there to allow him to, grab that title, become that guy who drops, 20 plus a night on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. That is the biggest concern, because Monk on this team, he gives them shooting, but again, that Monk is going to displace Evan, and we're going to move him around. It just, the problem is they kind of need to pick a direction and go with it, and I don't know. I mean, you can't go wrong drafting Monk because, again, I think he's going to be a hit in the NBA. I think he's going to bring it.
Can I say something? Yeah. And this is what it is.
Yep.
Do not worry about the personnel currently on their team.
Oh.
Because right now, what you should worry about is getting a superstar. If that guy displaces Evan Fournier, too fucking bad. If that guy displaces Elfrid Payton, too fucking bad. If that guy replaces Mario Hezonja, who they don't even play, too fucking bad. If that means Nikola Vucevic gets out of the way, too fucking bad. You need a superstar in Orlando. The last time you were relevant, you had a superstar in Dwight Howard. Last time you were relevant before that, you had a superstar in Tracy McGrady. Last time you were relevant before that, you had both Penny Hardaway and you had Shaquille O'Neal. You need a superstar in the Orlando Magic. You haven't had a superstar, and that's why your team's been trash lately. So you need to go out and a superstar. And first off, Hezonja, Fournier, those guys aren't superstars. Payton, not a superstar.
Hezonja somehow got worse.
Because they don't play him. The kid doesn't have confidence. Well, 10 starters, they don't play him.
And that's why I'm glad. One of the names I'm glad you brought up was Elfrid Payton, because it's one of the things where it's like,
he's great.
Is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be the point guard? I say there are 3 players I'm looking at, and the only reason why
in the draft, right?
Yeah, in the draft.
Bet, good.
The only reason why I am pushing Malik Monk to the side is like what Dave said. If you infuse him on this team, is he going to be the guy where it's like, Malik's our guy? That's the guy we're running through.
You don't say Malik Monk is our guy.
No. That's what I'm saying. I don't think
you make that Monk, a statement. It's not up for debate. Orlando Magic
Monk will be a good if he goes to a team where it's like, okay, we don't have to rely on him to be the guy. I would look at the point guard position.
I like the way you phrased that.
That's what I'm looking at. Okay.
Moving on.
I mean, I'm looking at the point guard, and the first 2 I look at, we've had this conversation before. Mm-hmm. Dennis Smith or De'Aaron Fox. take one of them. If you don't want one of those, I'm going Jason Tatum. Those are the three I'm looking at. I'm going either
If
Fox
Tatum's available.
or, well, if they get the fourth,
Yep.
he probably will be because it's probably going to be Fultz, Ball, and Jackson. So ideally, if you're what it is right now, you'll have your run at the money, either get a point guard like Dennis Smith, who can ball, De'Aaron Fox, who we know can ball, and then Jason Tatum, who he's not a point guard, but he's a guy who excels in the open court and is a big-time scorer.
So why you're going away from Monk is because he's not going to have the ball in his
He
hands.
only brings
I just want to
shooting.
And
Is that your
the,
thing?
That's the thing. He brings shooting, and plus he had a point guard like De'Aaron Fox playing next to him. I'm not saying he's bad. It's just one of those things where it's like, if the ball has to run through him and we don't have a point guard that can be what De'Aaron Fox was, maybe that would be an ill-advised pick.
Okay, so you're saying because
all
of
about
Fox's
fit.
performances, so it's about fit, but also do you think Fox's performances down the stretch kind of showed that it was maybe Fox was setting up Monk and not the other way around?
It's that, and two, it's the point guard runs the ball through his hands unless you're James Harden, LeBron James, or Russell Westbrook, the guys that we talked about earlier on the
Russ is a point
podcast.
guard.
And so is James.
I looked at it. Well, you think of
Harden
them where
used
it's
to not
like
be, yeah.
you look at them
was
as
fair.
both. They can go the other way, but Elfrid Payton's not that guy. I go with Smith. I go with Fox. Pick one.
I think that's
Pick one.
I think it's a really fair argument.
That's your superstar.
And I think the one you go with is De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
I think that he showed that he could be a superstar because you look at his ability. Obviously, the kid can't shoot. We get it. He can't shoot from outside. But look at all the superstars in the NBA coming into
develop
the
over
NBA.
time.
Jordan couldn't shoot a three. LeBron still
And then
finding
he hit,
a shot.
Then he hit 6 against Portland. What up?
Well, LeBron was finding a shot last year. He had one of his worst 3-point shooting seasons. Now he's like, I could shoot threes now. So De'Aaron Fox, you can work on a shot, and we've talked about this last
Derrick
year.
Rose too.
Yeah,
he developed it.
We talked about this last year with Ben Simmons. You can develop a shot.
Yep.
Joel Embiid developed a 3-point shot. De'Aaron Fox can develop a shot, but it's that explosiveness that he has, and I would take him over a guy like Dennis Smith because of the lack of injuries with De'Aaron Fox. I look at De'Aaron Fox, and the only thing that I don't see in him is kind of that leadership, that vocal mentality, that "fuck you, I'll take over." And that maybe that's just because he was on a Kentucky team where you haven't seen a lot of guys do that except for John Wall because that guy just exudes personality.
Yeah, that team is pretty well locked down.
Yeah, and I think it's more of I saw that in Dennis Smith because you look at Godford's team and there was not anybody on that team besides Dennis Smith.
And there's nothing wrong with not having that kind of, like Sean said, that FU mentality, because another Kentucky point guard who didn't have that was Tyler Ulis. Tyler Ulis
is a superstar.
Yeah, he's not a superstar, but it's one of those things where just because he didn't have that, we're not saying like, oh, he's anything less of a player.
I think you'd say Cat. Cat didn't have a fuck you superstar, fuck you
No,
mentality.
he's got little Cat up here that he talks to.
Yeah, we saw Dennis Smith had that fuck you mentality when he. And I'm swearing a lot, but this is the best way I can explain it. Is that you look at Dennis Smith and that way he ends the Duke game, coming down and just throwing that tomahawk slam.
Didn't even count because the time was up.
In Cameron.
Didn't matter.
Well, the time runs out when he's at the 3-point line. He's like, nope, doing it. Lance Stevenson can't even get a layup in regulation before the Raptors throw a ball at him. But Dennis Smith had that mentality. He had that way where he's pretty much out on an island by himself at NC State. He's pretty much going to be out on an island by himself in Orlando Magic if he gets drafted there. But I look at De'Aaron Fox. You have the lack of injury. Yes, he doesn't have that shot, but his ability to create, he was able to create for a lot of players on Kentucky. And you also look at his ability to get to the rim. He's so quick. He's so fast. And at 6'3", he looks bigger on the court than he truly is. And you look at a guy like Westbrook. Westbrook's 6'3", but he doesn't look 6'3".
Well,
right.
And I think that if I had to guess where the Magic were going, which
now
is
I'm
a
guessing
crazy
myself
thing
on
to
Russ's
do,
size.
I would have
6'3".
I would have a feeling that the Magic would pick Fox over Smith, though, because of one big thing.
What's that?
Beginning of the season, what did we talk about with Frank Vogel? What kind of a coach is he, offensive or defensive?
Defense.
The better defender is De'Aaron Fox on the ball. And I feel like they'll look at him and go, they're both athletic point guards. They're both this. He's a better defender.
That's true, but then again, I think you have to go after that one thing that makes someone a superstar, and it's athleticism, it's speed. And I think that
They're
with
both
Dennis,
athletic.
But with Dennis Smith's injury problems, how long can that athleticism be there?
And it's an ACL injury.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You snap that again, and that athleticism might be gone.
look at Jabari.
Yeah, and look at Rose. Rose tears his ACL.
Different player.
He's
to
tears his knee.
recreate how he plays.
Yeah.
How is he going to sit down? I don't know.
Exactly. I think
I don't know.
De'Aaron Fox is a guy who can be the next superstar. Is there anybody else though? Do you agree that Tatum could be the next guy?
He could be the next guy. I just question, like, how far are you guys going on? It has to be a point guard because from March on, we watch Elfrid Payton kind of pick up his play a little bit more. He's been putting up 13.5, 7.5 boards, 8.5 assists.
And that's why I threw out
since
Tatum's
March, he has been kind of picking up his game. And I think that the big knock on him.
What did the Magic do in those since May?
I mean,
in March, how many wins did they get?
They're pretty shitty.
They're still shitty.
But I'm just saying, does that give you enough hope? I know we joke around before about Nico at the end of the year. Is this enough to get him a new contract because he decided to play for a month? Do you see enough in Elfrid Payton that he deserves to keep that spot, or do you think he's just kind of going to be a bench point guard in the same vein? I think that personally, as a Magic fan, I'm still leaning point guard. I think Tatum would be awesome to have there, but I think again you need to run the ball through someone you trust. And I love De'Aaron Fox's defensive prowess. He is so quick off the ball that you need someone like that who can take over a team. And I'm with you. I think that Fox is the right guy to go with.
Well, I mean, that's the whole reason why of that 3 I gave, why I kind of slipped Tatum in there. Because it's one of those things
He's an outside, but it could.
It's not just, it's because of the fact that do we want to bail on Elfrid Payton? And if they do, it's one of those things where it's you know what? I see Jason Tatum. I saw what he's been able to do with Duke this season. I know they lost to South Carolina, but South Carolina went on a run, and I kind of find it funny that the only guy to average more points than him at Duke this season is mocked 30th in Chad Ford, and Jason Tatum is mocked in the top
There's
5.
more athleticism from Jason Tatum than Luke Kennard. I mean,
he's
bigger body.
I'm not
NBA
saying
body.
that he shouldn't, but it's one of those things where he led the team didn't lead the team in boards, Jefferson, but second on the team in boards, second on the team in points. And the thing is, 45% field goal percentage. If you're gonna stay point guard, that's why I think Tatum. I threw him out there.
Because I feel like for all our bitching about the Magic's awful offense, do you feel like that's a product of Elfrid Payton not being successful enough getting his people shots, or do you feel like you don't have shooters on that team?
The team sucks. That's the problem.
Well, because it's a play style question. Because if you think that Elfrid Payton isn't able to open up shots for people, you go point guard again. Well, but if you don't have confidence in your team to make shots, I think Tatum might be the guy.
I think the thing is I think, yes. I mean, Elfrid Payton, he's a guy that, you brought stats in March. In April, he's even stepped it up as well. He's been a rebounder this year. Last year he was a guy that hovered around 3. I think now he's up at 6. He's been a guy that's been able to grab boards as well for the Orlando Magic. But the thing is that it's not about who fits, what you think of the players right now. I think with the Orlando Magic,
clean board?
You just need to get somebody there. Because while Elfrid Payton's fine, you can trade him. You can get more picks. You can get him out of there. I think you need to find someone and look at him and say, that is our guy and that is our franchise. Because you can look around the NBA and you can look. The Los Angeles Lakers don't currently have that. They might get that in a guy like Lonzo Ball. Right now, the Celtics have that. They have it in a guy like Isaiah Thomas. The Suns, right now, they have a guy like Devin Booker. Right now, there are players where you can identify, this is our guy. Timberwolves have 2 guys. Wiggins and Towns. I would even say Towns is their guy right there. You need a face of your franchise. Bucks have it in Giannis. Cleveland has it in LeBron. Chicago has it in Jimmy. I can go on and on. You need a face of the franchise. Elfrid Payton's not the face of the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
You need a guy who's a face.
Tell me it's not Vucevic?
I think it could be De'Aaron Fox.
Quick trivia question. That's why I put for the YouTube people, why I put my arm on your shoulder. Do you remember who Elfrid Payton was traded for when he was drafted, Dave? Do you have an idea?
I know it was the Sixers.
It was the Sixers. Who
Marco
was
Carl
it?
Williams.
No.
Was it Dario?
It was Dario. The Magic could have had Dario.
Was he 10th?
He was 12th.
Well, again, they're going to try to trade for Dario.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he was drafted. Payton was drafted 10th, and Dario was 12th, and they swapped.
Payton's got that Jeff Teague feel to him, though. That's the thing. It's but he's not quite good enough to be a starting point guard. But
this is the thing I want to bring up.
Before that, I just want to throw this in there. But that's when Dave was saying, well, do you trust the system? Maybe I just don't trust the Magic drafting because they do the Elfrid Payton trade. How's that turned out with Dario and Payton now? And then they go ahead and draft Hazonia. And what has Hazonia been?
They haven't played him.
Exactly. No. anything.
To his credit, when they do play him, he's a dumpster.
It's one of those things where it's like, maybe are they making the right decisions in the draft, and maybe that's the problem.
And you can make that argument. I mean, Tracy McGrady was a guy they brought over from Toronto. Dwight Howard, he was the number 1 overall pick, and easily the number 1 overall pick. I mean, that guy was a freak of nature.
Tracy McGrady, HOF, got to say that now. Hall of Famer.
Shaq, they drafted Shaq. So I think that, yeah, I mean, they've been gifted into guys, and I don't know if you could trust them. But then again, Rob Hennigan, their GM, probably is going out this year. So you might be able to bring a guy who can draft a superstar. I think one thing, though, is if you can find a face of the franchise in the Orlando Magic right now, it's Aaron Gordon. Because, again, people know him because of the slam dunk contest and all this. I think you just need to get a guy who can be someone who can take over and be your superstar. And yes, obviously Elfrid Payton has some shine to him. Aaron Gordon has some shine to him. Vucevic obviously is a decent a center down low. But the thing is you need to have a guy who, again, like Ricky said, okay, this is our guy. This is our franchise. This is who people are going to buy his jersey. This is going to be a guy who we can say he led us to the playoffs. You need to find that guy in Orlando, and I don't think you have that right now. And you can trade pieces like Vucevic. You can trade pieces like Gordon. You can trade pieces like Payton because, you know where I think Payton would fit really well? The Pelicans. I think that he would work fantastic with a guy like with Anthony Davis and Boogie because he's a good passer. He's a guy that can find lanes. He's a lengthy kid. He's not a guy that can really shoot and score. But when you have those two guys, you don't really need to be able to do that. I think he might be able to fit well with a team like the Pelicans, and maybe the Pelicans would be inclined to trade for him if whatever they have. I don't think they have a lot, but whatever they do have for him, I think they might be able to trade for him, and because that might be a nice fit. You can move pieces, but you need a superstar, and you don't move superstars. They don't have a superstar right now, and I think that's the biggest thing. They might fall, and I think if they do fall out of the lottery, if there's that chance, you have the ability of Fox, Smith, Tatum, like you mentioned. I think there's another guy down there as well in Miles Bridges. I'm really high on Miles Bridges. I think
we're going to talk about him soon.
We are, and I think that his ability, if you fall to that 11th spot or 10th spot or 9th spot, I think it's tragic that he's falling that far, but you look at his body, you look at his ability, that kid's an NBA body. He doesn't have the explosiveness of T-Mac or Penny Hardaway, but he has the ability, he has the grit, he has that toughness that you like in a player, and I think that Miles Bridges could be a guy like that. De'Aaron Fox has the explosiveness of a superstar. Dennis Smith also has explosiveness as well. Malik Monk has the shooting and scoring output, like we mentioned, of D Wade. There's superstars out there, but you need to go out and find it. I think we are pretty sure it's Fox.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fox is the way I'm leaning, even though I think it's a system. I'm with Ricky. It's got to be, he needs to be the start. He's a change of something. He's the face of the culture, and I'm all for that going forward. My big question is, like, with that second pick they picked up from the Raptors, do you just go wild card and go, like, somebody with a ton of upside, maybe? I mean, I don't know.
I think
it's a mid-20s pick. You go out there and get somebody who maybe has some problems in the past, but has the upside potential to be a stud.
Are you mentioning somebody specific?
I don't know. I'm just tossing out there. Maybe.
Who's the guy with?
Maybe somebody like, I don't know. I
didn't know because the way you said it, like trouble past. I didn't know.
No,
if you were
I was going like a Harry Giles.
Oh,
like,
yeah, he might drop.
Somebody like him who was early in his life was mocked as number one can't miss guy. Obviously some injuries, but I mean, you've got 2 picks in the first. If you're saying clean slate, go for a superstar, go for a stud. You can't. I mean, is it wrong to take a shot on somebody like that?
I don't think it is, and I think that's a pretty good point to bring up, is because it's a deep draft class, and guys might fall. And Harry Giles, a guy that was top recruit coming into Duke, obviously his knee problems hindered his ability. But then again, you could bring in a guy like that, or maybe go and get a guy like Josh Jackson. If you get a point guard, you can get a guy like Justin Jackson. You can go out and get a guy like Justin Jackson, a guy who has that mentality of a leader right now, can pass that off and be a guy that can step in right away because he is pretty much hitting his ceiling.
You'll get Kennard.
You can get Kennard, but I mean,
get some more shooting.
Get Kennard, but the one thing I'll throw out, and this is a name, of course, Chad Ford has him going small forward with that second pick. If they maybe go Tatum, because for me it's either Fox or Tatum. Fox if you think Payton's not your guy. Tatum if you think we could still work with Elfrid Payton. And if they go Tatum, maybe a guy they look for later, a guy that we talked about before the podcast, Dave, off air, was Moritz Wagner from Michigan, a guy who had a great season. Also had a huge game for them when Wharton Jr. and everyone weren't coming through against Louisville. Really picked it up and could be a stretch 4 for them to work off of.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
It's not a sexy pick. You get the superstar with the fourth overall
and you
pick.
need that superstar. And I think you desperately need that superstar if you're the Orlando Magic. If you were put in this situation, who would you take? Fox, Smith, Tatum, my boy Bridges. Where would you go if you need to pick up a superstar after Fultz, Ball, and Josh Jackson are off the board? Tell us in the comments down below. Tell us who you would go with. Thank you. Oh, shit. Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.